All right, in this video, I want to talk about APs. Which AP do you need to use? Well, foremost, you need to figure out what the environment, the surroundings that you're going to actually be putting your APs in. Is it wide open, no trees or anything, perfect line of sight, don't matter which way you point your AP to your CPEs? Or is it some kind of a little forest of some trees in a way? It will depend on which AP that you use. If you need to go long range, it's best to use 2.4. Or if you got a few trees here and there you need to penetrate through the trees, it's best to use 2.4 as well. Now you can try 5 gigahertz and see if it actually get through the trees and see if you can get the speed that you actually need to them clients that's on the other side of the trees. And then you have to decide which one will be the best if you need to set up a light AP/AC all-in-one radio, antenna and all, or do you really need to be robust of high dB gain, and you can use a Rocket AC or a Rocket Prism AC and throw on a Air Max AC sector antenna? You really have to tailor your APs to your environment, not one fits all situations. And most of the APs, when I set them up, it shows a little pop-up box that shows it will handle roughly 60-80 CPEs. Rather or not it will actually do that, I don't know, because I haven't got that quite that many on one single AP yet. But I have came close. I've gotten like 58, 59 on one, and I have had no issues with any of them clients. But use the WISP software and you can see the data if it's maxing out the AP or not. You can watch the CPU in it, the RAM. I mean, it just gives you so much information about your radios in real time. Use the program also AirLink to lay out your network before you even put anything together. Take a 5 gigahertz always take a 2.4 and a 5 gigahertz radio, set it up and do analyze what's in that area, and that may determine which radio you can use in that area as well. Because if the 5 gigahertz spectrum is just saturated, even if you don't have any trees, it still may be very wise to use 2.4 so you have less noise in your shots to all the CPEs. That's just a few things that we do, is check the environment, see what's out there. That will determine which radio frequency we use, 5 or 2.4. Then we do analyze the area and see what frequencies are actually saturated the most, 5 or 2.4. And we go by that, determine which AP that we will deploy in that area, what will work the best. And there's a few other things that you can take in consideration as well. is cost effective. Do you start out with a small AP and change it out as you grow? It just depends on what your budget is, how big the area is. You don't want to put a big sector up there and you're not going to have it maybe 8 or 9 CPEs actually tied to it. You can put a simple light APAC. If it's going to be 5 gigahertz, I do believe last time I checked they were like $99. Very inexpensive, easy to install, lightweight if you're going to put it up on a tower, and it would get the job done. And I've got some on the light AP GPS radio, and they are like 2 miles away, the CPE, and it works fine. You really need to analyze the area, the frequencies that's being used in the area before you deploy anything. You can use the Prism Station AC, Rocket AC. It just depends on the environment that you're deploying your network in. Really go through analyzing everything before you invest a lot of money and then realize it's not going to work. When I started out years ago, I brought used equipment off of like eBay and stuff just to learn the equipment, testing the equipment, what it can, what it cannot do. I mean, you can read the PDF document files of the equipment all you want and what it says it would do, what it, and all that. Until you put it in the environments, that is the real test of what it can and cannot do. And I have to admit, what Ubiquiti says their equipment can do, pretty much it will do it. So the documents are very, very accurate of what their equipment can do. That's not often found that way. Usually they say, okay, it will transmit 5 miles and you might get 3.5. Like, why isn't it going any further? And I got line of sight. Well, it's just other things that comes in play. But be sure you do your homework, per se, before you invest a lot of money in equipment that's not going to be usable for your setup. You don't have to have a lot of money to get started to be a WISP owner. You can start out small, then build up, and do things like when you set a CPE to an AP, don't tell it to lock to the AP. Because if you got, say, 15 CPEs locked to one AP, and the AP decides to go belly up and stops working, yes, you can put up another AP. But since all the CPEs are locked to the other one with the MAC address, if you put in the same AP name, SSID name, password and all, the CPE's not going to tie to it because it's the MAC address. Tell it to connect to that AP, not lock to. I learned that the hard way. I got about 5 clients on my first AP, and the AP was kind of giving me trouble, and I can reset it and it'll work for another 2 or 3 weeks. And then I put another AP up there to replace it and found out that was the issue. It was, it would not connect because of that. So I never locked any CPEs to APs anymore. But there was nothing wrong with the AP that I took down. It was a wire that was feeding it that was messed up. Because the second one, about 3 months later, started doing the exact same thing. So I replaced the wire, put the original AP back up, and everything was working fine. But get you some used equipment, or if you can afford the new, brand new, that's fine. Get familiar with the ins and outs of the CPEs and APs of how it works, all the little bells and whistles that is in the firmware. So many things in there, just little things that you need to learn, like client isolation. You don't want John over there to print to his HP printer, and Mark over there has the exact same HP printer, and client isolation is not turned on, and John prints over to Mark's printer through the network. So be sure you learn all the bells and whistles, or at least try, because even I have not learned all what every little button in the firmware does, because they keep updating it and just makes it even better and better. But at least learn the basics before you go deploy, because if you deploy and then need to try to learn some things that you could have learned before, it's a lot easier to learn it before than after, because it can be chaos in a network. But look in the environment, do an analyze of the spectrum on 2.4 and 5 in the area, do the use the AirLink software to lay out the network, and you can use different radios. It's just like, I got some people that don't need but 20 megabits per second download. There's no reason to put expensive CPE that can do 300 or 400 when I can just go get an M5, which will do up to like 100, and it will work fine. So don't buy something that's going to do more than that client will ever need. And as things get more advanced, usually the older stuff, generations that has been done and made, you can get them very inexpensive. You can, like we've been buying some M5 CPEs in packs of 10, just because the price is just ridiculously low, but it will do what them clients need. They don't need but 15 or 20 or 25 megabits per second, and them radios will work just fine. It's got great dB gain on them and all. So don't over spend money on items that you never use the full potential of the equipment. I mean, you're not going to go buy a race car and drive it every day down the road, because it's just a waste of a car. It's made to race, not just to ride down the road. You don't need nothing that, no CPEs that goes 450, 430 if the client only needs, 20, 25 megabits per second download. So just analyze everything from ground up. What kind of tower? What is it going to be built out of? I got some towers that are made out of the top rail of a chain link fence, which they come in 10-foot poles, and they slip over each other. So I put one down 2 feet in the ground, then put another 10 foot on top of it. And then when I put the antenna up, that puts it up, 16, 17, 18 feet, and put some guide wires on it. And I got a tower, and it works. You don't have to go buy these new expensive towers that cost $700-800. Them poles ran me something like, I think somewhere around $18 a piece. So that's 40, the guide wires and all. Less than $75, I had a tower up. and it's very easy to take it down and relocate if needed, or add on to. So just get your paper and pen and use the softwares, AirLink and stuff, and just analyze everything before you invest so much money and then realize it's not going to work. Figure out which APs that you need. The AirLink software, you can put in them APs and try different CPEs, put in the addresses and all, and see actually what will work. And then you know that you don't have to spend a lot of money to get it done. You can always, if somebody needs more speed, they can always upgrade. But you'd be surprised how much they can do on so little of megabits per second. I got homes with 3 kids that's remote learning at the exact same time, and they don't have but 5 megabits per second download, because the software they use to do the remote learning only uses like 1.1 to 1.3. I put a edge router on their system and monitored when they were all online, and it was using somewhere like 3.8 max when they were online learning all at the same time. And like Netflix now, you don't need but 25 megabits per second download to watch 4K videos. Actually, it only uses like 21 point something, because I put a router, edge router on that as well, and see what it was going to use. They say 25, but it's actually using 21 point something, but 25 will do it. So all this compression that these things are using now, you don't use that much bandwidth to actually get it done. Used to, you have all cell phones, tablets, TVs, and everything else in the house. You had to get 400 or 500 or 1 gig and all that. That's not true anymore. So don't overspend on equipment that you don't need to buy because your clients don't need. Just analyze everything. If you got any questions, leave them in the comments, and we'll get back with you as quick as we can. Thank you for watching.